The Malaysian government has lifted its temporary suspension of live cattle exports from Australia overnight, but Indonesia's suspension of cattle exports from 4 Aussie facilities remains in place. Joining me now is Mark Harvey-Sutton, the Chief Executive of the Australian Livestock Exporters Council. Mark, thanks for your time today. Could you just explain what has happened in the past 24 hours or so in regards to Malaysia?
No, thank you for having me, Ed. Well, what we've seen in the last 24 hours is the Malaysian government actually lift their temporary suspension on Australian cattle imports. They initially initiated this suspension off the back of action taken by Indonesia, who had expressed concerns following Australian cattle testing positive for lumpy skin disease in Indonesia. But this is very welcome news from the Malaysian government, because what it actually does is it affirms our lumpy skin disease-free status. We know that we don't have the disease here in Australia, and the Australian government, in partnership with the state governments across the north, undertook significant testing of over 1,000 animals in the last few weeks just to confirm that. So this is very good that the Malaysian government is reflecting our status.
Okay, great news on the Malaysia front then, but can you just take us back to the start where this all began in regards to Australia and Indonesia? What happened there?
Well, sure. Well, every time we export cattle or any agricultural commodity for that matter, we have to give certain commitments to the importing countries. So, for instance, with Indonesia, we commit to being lumpy skin disease free in order to access that market. So Indonesia undertook a process of testing Australian cattle in Indonesia for lumpy skin disease, and they obtained positive test results. So what this represents is a technical issue, a technical market access issue, because they are concerned that perhaps the cattle were contracting lumpy skin disease in Australia, and that is why they suspended those 4 preparation facilities initially, and then also put further restrictions on another 3. But what we need to do here is work through very pragmatically with the Indonesian government, and it's a discussion to be had between the Australian government and the Indonesian government to basically get to the bottom of what's happening.
Yeah, well, coincidentally, our Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, actually touched down in Jakarta today. So he's in Indonesia right now. Are you hopeful there can be some sort of talks going on right now in Indonesia between Australia and the Indonesian governments?
Oh, look, where the discussion needs to be had is that expert level. So we actually have Australia's Chief Veterinary Officer in Indonesia leading a delegation to talk to their counterparts about the lumpy skin disease issue. It would be very helpful for Prime Minister Albanese to at least raise the issue, but we know that the Prime Minister is very supportive of our position, but we also do not wish to politicise this issue, because it is very technical in nature, it's complex, the testing can be a complex undertaking, so we're really hoping that these discussions between the experts in the field from respective countries can work out exactly what's going on and how do we move forward.
Yeah, and just give us a sense of the size or the value of the live export market Australia has with Indonesia.
Look, at its peak, we shipped over 1 million cattle to Indonesia. So that was about 10 years ago, mind you. So last year we shipped about 300,000. We were anticipating sending about 500,000 cattle this year. And that's from right across Northern Australia, so Queensland, Western Australia, Northern Territory. The production systems, or the cattle production systems across Northern Australia, are very reliant on the live trade because it offers a market within its proximity. It can sometimes be cost prohibitive to send cattle south, as they say, to processing facilities. And you're looking at a value of the market of well over $1 billion.
And just give us an idea of the outlook now. Like, how hopeful are you that Indonesia will allow Australia to restart exports?
Oh, look, it's one of those things that's going to have to be worked through. I mean, obviously, we are very hopeful that we can resume quickly. But I think we have to be quite pragmatic and acknowledge that there will be a discussion to take place here. That discussion's happening this week. We're hopeful that Indonesia understands and reflects Australia's lumpy skin disease-free status. But we will have to have a discussion about the positive test results they've gathered and just try and work through, all right, how can we address this and what can we do to assist? So it has to be a cooperative discussion, but it's a very important time for northern cattle producers as well. This is the time of year that they often turn off their cattle, and you know, a lot of them were preparing to send cattle to Indonesia in the next few months. So I think a quick resolution is the best outcome for all involved.
Mark,
but we just need
thanks
to work
so much.
through.
Sorry, we've run out of time. Really appreciate you coming on the program today.
No, my pleasure. Thanks very much.